Hey everybody, and welcome to Cut the Kibble. I'm Paula, and this is Misha. In one more week, he's going to be 1 year old. Where has time gone? It is a freezing day here today, and I've been wanting to do this video for some time, and I keep on saying to myself, let me do it, because I want to help people who are maybe on the borderline of doing this. Okay, so let's talk about it. I want to talk today about spaying and neutering your dog. So, there's growing evidence that our dogs need to have these sex hormones to stay healthy. And there is another way, an alternative way of spaying and neutering that I'll talk about in a little bit that can keep your dogs healthy. But let's first go back. When I first got my first dog, which was a Bichon 17 years ago, there were two things that the vet told me. Don't give your dog any human food and get your dog neutered by age 6 months. And we know now that human food is very healthy for your dog as long as you don't do things like onions and chocolate and stuff with xylitol in it. But we're knowing now that keeping those hormones is also important for your dog. Now, before I go any further, I want to say that I am not against spay and neutering. We have an overpopulation of dogs, and if you get a dog from the SPCA and probably from most rescues, before you get that dog will be spayed or neutered because they want to make sure that the dog is not going to have babies, and they don't know what kind of a dog owner you are, and yada yada. But what else did I want to say? I'm sorry, I'm doing this quickly because I have a ton of things to do, but I wanted to get information out from you. But if you're getting a dog, if you're thinking of getting a dog soon, or you just got a dog, and you're getting a dog from a breeder or from another person, I got my dog from a person who didn't want Misha anymore, and you're thinking about spaying or neutering, please listen to this video. So when I got Misha back in March of 2023, okay, it's now, what is now? It's November of 2023. So how is that? Yeah, I got him at 4 months old, and I brought him to the vet. Hold on, I need to have some tea. We just came from outside. I brought him to the vet, and again, Misha was 4 months old, and the vet said, hey, you should neuter your dog by 1 year old. And I told him, he said by 6 months old. And I said, I think I'm going to wait. I just got him at 4 months. For us to get to know each other. I want his personality to evolve living in my house. And he said, that's fine. Do whatever you want. I would have much rather heard from him. You're doing the right thing. Why don't you wait? Because more evidence is showing that keeping the sex hormones is healthier for the dog in the long run. I didn't hear that. Once again, I was disappointed in vets. You got to do your own research. And I am not a vet, so I want you to do your own research. I'm just here sharing information with you. So think about it. Why are we taking sex organs out of our dogs? That would be the testes and the ovaries. Without thinking maybe those organs are needed for other health benefits in the body. Think of your dog. What could we think of your dog like? I don't know, like a car. Let's say like a car. If you take the carburetor out or the engine out, is the car going to work? I mean, it won't work with the engine, but if you don't change the oil, the car's going to slowly deteriorate. Okay, so why are we taking these sex organs out? We have been doing this for years and years and years. And the main reason is because we don't want to have unwanted dogs around. But surely there's another way we could do this. So, you know, and they used to be thought, oh, you got to take, in the females, you got to spay them or they're going to get mammary cancer. Or in the males, you got to neuter them or they're going to get prostate cancer. But do you know that in 2006, research came out saying that dogs that were neutered had a 4 extra times getting prostate cancer than those dogs that were not neutered. And then, I'm sorry, I'm reading because I'm putting this into a Substack. If you're not following my free Substack, please follow along. I do a lot of information. I did one on secondary smoke and how rice is not good for you. I just go the whole gambit of things. Research in 2012 said that desexing your dog contributed to lymphoma, mast cell tumors, and this is early spaying and neutering, endocrine diseases, adrenal burnout, Cushing's and Addison disease, obesity, bladder stones, incontinence in spayed females. Gosh, I know so many dogs. The owner's telling my dog got spayed and now she's incontinent. Skin issues, diabetes, several cancers, aggressive and fearful behavior, IBD, allergies, and cognitive dysfunction, which is basically doggy dementia. And I have my first dog got doggy dementia. He was spayed at 3 years old. At 14, he got doggy dementia. He lasted until 16 when we decided his quality of life was no longer there. So that's something very raw in my heart. And they're saying that doggy dementia is associated with neutered and spayed animals, and they're basing this on research of human Alzheimer's patients that as they age, they're losing their sex hormones, and that is what is causing, part of what's causing Alzheimer's in the aging population. Of course, there's many other reasons for it, and all this stuff that I'm telling you, it's not black and white, but it can contribute to your dog's health. You know, to this day, my first Bichon, he left us how many years ago? It's been 5 years ago, and I still think, how did he get doggy dementia? It's a horrible disease, and I don't want my other dogs to get it, nor any of my loved ones, my husband, or myself. Another really bad thing about neutering early is that when you neuter early, you're stopping the hormones, okay? So the growth plates in the joints of the dog's legs are going to close, but the bones are still gonna grow. So the bones are growing in weird ways because the growth plates are closed. And over time, that's gonna cause joint issues, okay? So that's another reason you don't wanna neuter too early. Now, they say, you know, the younger dogs, you could neuter or spay them early, but the older dogs, for the growth plates, you really should wait longer. Now, all of these things that I talked about, Addison and Cushing's disease and IBD and all that, it's based on some studies, okay? And we know now what we didn't know 10 years ago. And 10 years from now, if I'm still doing videos, we're gonna learn a lot more. But you wanna keep up with the times, okay? So let's talk about when your dog goes through puberty. And again, I'm not a doctor at all. I'm just a doggy mom, so I'm trying to give you this in layman's terms. So when a dog goes through puberty, the pituitary gland releases luteinizing, I'm not gonna say it right, luteinizing hormones. It's called LH, and I'm gonna keep on saying LH instead of luteinizing hormones. And basically it's communicating to the ovaries and the testes, hey, start producing sex hormones, okay? But if you remove those sex hormones, meaning the ovaries, the uterus, and the testes, the pituitary gland goes crazy and says, wait a minute, where are these glands? And so what happens is, since there are no sex hormones in the dog anymore, there's not the ovaries and testes. The dog releases more of these LH, and what happens it goes throughout the body. And what we're learning now is that every cell in our dog's body has LH receptors. It's not just in the sex hormones. Particularly, it's in the adrenal gland and the bladder. And new research is showing that this excessive release of the LH is causing the body to become toxic because it's being absorbed in all the tissues, okay? So what does this mean? It means that this research needs to be looked at more closely. It's pretty concerning that the LH receptors in these tissues of dogs that have been neutered, these dogs have a much, much higher issues of having these cancers and UTI, bladder stones, and everything. So rather than dogs that have not been spayed or neutered. So that's a big red flag, and we need more research on that, okay? And to me, that's a red flag that I'm definitely going to wait longer than even a year to get this little guy neutered. So then you start to think, well, is there a way to spay or neuter a dog without getting rid of the sex hormones? I mean, the sex organs, I'm getting a little confused. I'm not getting confused, I'm just crazy. So for the female, you can do something called ovarian sparing, where you spare or save the ovaries. So you just take out the uterus. This way, the dog still has progesterone hormones throughout her life. Sounds kind of interesting, doesn't it? Have you heard about it? You probably haven't, because the vet schools are not teaching this procedure. We'll talk about that in a second. Now, there is a danger to doing this. And if the male dog goes inside the female dog, that sperm has nowhere to go now, okay? Because she got rid of her uterus. So it has nowhere to spread. So then the uterine stump can possibly rupture, and that semen can go into the abdomen. And then you will have a potential life-threatening situation called periodontitis. Am I saying that right? Peritoninitis. Okay. Now, for the male dog, it's quite easy. You just do a vasectomy. You can. That's the alternative. Instead of cutting off his balls. I mean, do we cut off men's balls? I mean, I don't mean to be vulgar or anything, but why are we cutting off dogs' testes? It doesn't make sense. Just give dogs a vasectomy. So a section of the spermatic cord is removed, preventing the sperm from traveling. So he'll keep his testes, therefore keeping the testosterone hormones that will prevent all these, possibly prevent all these other diseases from happening. So now I mentioned the vet schools are not teaching this in vet school. They're not teaching nutrition in vet school. I'm going to, in my Substack, I will have a link to a petition that you can sign to have vets teach these alternative ways of spay and neutering. I don't know if on my Instagram, if I could put the link. Okay, so please subscribe to my Substack. It's Cut the Kibble. Everything I do is Cut the Kibble. So, we really don't know. What we do know is that sex hormones are crucial for a dog's overall health and longevity. Okay? But there's no definite black and white cookie cutter answer of what you should do. And like I said, we're learning more now than we did last year. We're going to know more in a few years, but you got to keep up with the research. That's so crucial. And it wasn't until I did my own research last year that I was shocked to find out, because I've been doing this desexing research for quite a while, that I may have contributed to my other dog's knee tear, was it ACL? Because Bella, who has been gone now for 8 months, she got spayed, I want to say at 5 or 6 months, because back then, 13 years ago, still, you were doing it early, okay? And I was always mindful throughout her whole life. I had ramps for my bed. I had ramps for my couch. I never had her do agility because I know she was a little dog and I didn't want her to hurt, her ligaments. And then out of the blue, and I mean out of the blue, when she became 11 years old, we were walking and she was skipping on her back leg. And I took her to the vet and found out that she had an ACL tear. And to this day, I'm like, how did she get this? Did she get it because she was spayed way too early? So for her, what I did, she did 8 visits of cold laser therapy. She did 1 visit of acupuncture, but we found out that she's needle sensitive. And we did 6 months of no walks, no jumping, carrying her up and down the stairs and only going potty in the backyard. And then she healed herself, basically. Every now and then, we couldn't go for long walks with her, though, unfortunately, because she was healed, but not all the way. So, I'm giving you a lot of information. If you would like to find a vet in your area that does these alternative procedures for spay and neutering, in my Substack, I'll have a link that you could find vets that do that. So this little guy, he'll be 1 year old next week. And right now I have decided that he's not getting neutered now and he may never get neutered. The way I look at it is there's red flags why I should get him neutered. And I'm a very responsible dog owner. He's not going to go and be impregnating any other dogs. I have 0 tolerance for humping. He has yet to hump a dog, and we've been around a lot of dogs. So we're going to see what happens. And also, I don't want him to get doggy dementia. And one more thing, he has such a sweet disposition. If you neuter your dog, I've heard if your dog is aggressive and you neuter it, it could be calmer. Well, that's BS. Because I had my first male neutered, and that, I don't know, not that he was aggressive, but he didn't change his disposition. But this little guy has the sweetest disposition. Look at him. And I don't want to get rid of his sex hormones and he becomes a monster. I'm not willing to gamble that this time. Not this time, right? I love you. So, in closing, I want to say again, I'm not a vet. I'm just here to build a dog community where we share information, and I welcome your comments on this video or on my Substack so we can learn from each other, because that's what it's all about, and you got to keep up with the research. This was a 20-minute video. Oh my goodness.